Good evening, everyone out there. Welcome to another edition of Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat, along with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Vince D'Addario, Jesse Stiers in the co-captain seat today. And it is the Jesse and Vince show today because Sean Stiers is rapidly preparing for Notre Dame women's basketball as they tip off against the Cal Golden Bears out in California. Over in Berkeley. And so he's been out California dreaming here for the last couple of days. And he will continue to do so as they will be taking on Stanford on Sunday. So the California swing for the Notre Dame women's basketball team is in full effect. And so that's why Sean is not with us today. We were going to have a show yesterday, Jesse, or tomorrow, excuse me. We're going to have a show tomorrow. You're busy doing something. I don't know what you're doing. You're busy. I'm free. And Sean was free. So we were just going to do the two of us. We were going to do a we in, we out show. And then all of a sudden he got the itinerary for the women's basketball team. And they're going to be moving from Berkeley to Palo Alto right during the show. So no way that we could do a show tomorrow. So we moved the we in, we out to today. And we got some great submissions over on the Champions Lounge at the IrishBreakdown.com premium message boards. And so we're ready to roll there. But also tomorrow, Jesse, and I had to bring this up, it is the Penn Kingsmen versus the Adams Eagles in prime time on Sports Michiana. Our buddy Chuck Freebie and Angelo DiCarlo. It's the game of the week. So it's going to be, televised, the whole deal. We all know that's a big deal when those guys come into town. And so it's the big Eagles versus Kingsmen, man. What do you think about that?
Who would you say is the favorite?
I believe Penn is the favorite.
How are the teams stacking up this year?
I know that Adams started out like 10-0, like they were on fire to start off the season. I don't know. I'm going to have to see now. I'm going to have to look up like over on our buddy John Harrell, his website. But look, they wouldn't be doing the game if it wasn't going to be, one of the better games of the night, I would imagine. And so let's see. Here we go. South Bend Adams. South Bend Adams is 10-3 this year.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, they started out 10-0. Then they went on a 3-game losing streak that they are currently sitting in. They lost to LaPorte, Michigan City, and Elkhart.
Well, no better time to get out of that than to beat the Penn Kingsmen.
This is all I'm saying. Going on the road, being a road dog, getting after the Kings.
My roots. I yelled at many Kingsmen during my days supporting John Adams basketball.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, believe me, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Penn is also 10-3, so same record. Penn has lost to Crown Point, Hamilton Southeastern, and Northridge. So should be a good game. So if you're, want to watch a little high school basketball, come out to Penn High School and watch a little 2 10-3 teams getting after it in conference. Should be a lot of fun. In the Palace. The Palace.
I got 2 important things that I wanted to get in here, Vince.
Okay.
First and foremost, if you couldn't make it to the boards and you have a we in, we out question,
yep,
more than welcome to throw them in the chat. We'll try to get to those. And also, if you're listening on the radio, just call into our producer, Ty McBride, and he'll write down your question, and maybe it'll make its way to the show as well.
Let's keep Ty working. Keep him working. But yes, we will absolutely take. That's where we will take all of your questions in the chat. We will take your questions apparently via telephone as well.
Yeah.
And so we'll have some fun with this one. But like I said, we do have some questions queued up here on the board. But that, of course, means that I needed to be a little bit more proactive and have my screen ready to be shared.
Second thing, Vince,
which I did not.
Yesterday dawned the new era of the Jesse Stiers basketball team. I am
that's right,
in the full swing of coaching basketball again this season.
Is that what you've got going on tomorrow night? Are you going or doing something different? Because I thought it said basketball.
Basketball game with some friends.
Okay, that's fair. You're allowed to have a Friday night. You're
G League game.
You're a young gun. Oh, a G League game?
But the courtside to G League.
So you're like a B-list celebrity.
Yeah. For the night.
I love that. I love that.
Me and my three best friends. So we'll be sitting courtside. If you want to watch the Cleveland G League team somehow illegally stream it, you'll probably see me sitting courtside. So no big deal.
I dig that. Does the G League team play where the Cavaliers play?
No, they play in a separate, smaller arena.
Okay. All right.
I think it's where Cleveland State plays.
Oh, okay.
It's like a shared arena kind of in downtown. The Wolfstein, I believe, is if my memory serves me right.
There you go. We got a couple of quick questions in here that I start up. Everybody, John wanted to know, and so did Justin, does Sean travel with the team? He's a baller. He does travel with the team. So, which also makes him at the mercy of when they want to do things. But he still gets to, ride in the charter and all that kind of fun stuff. So, but when they say it's time to leave and time to go someplace,
it's time to go.
It's time to go. He can't be like, put his hand in the air and be like, Neil, I've got a show that I've got to do. Because Neil will be like, well, good for you. You can either stay here and do your show and find your own way to Palo Alto, or you can come with us when we told you we're going to leave. So I think Sean is just like, yeah, I'll just go with you guys. So we will not have a show tomorrow night. So I apologize for all those party animals on Friday night that want to hang out with us from 5 to 7. That will not be the case. So this is going to have to be your fix for the
bring
weekend.
All the juice and energy to tonight's show.
That's right.
With good
100%.
Questions.
100%. We've got some good ones in here. Let me see if I can get this thing fired up. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. Let's do the whole. There we go. So our people, there we go. All right.
Good with technology.
So, I know, right? So we were a little late getting this up because we didn't know we weren't going to have a show tomorrow, and that was going to be the We In, We Out show. And then I was like, well, what are we going to talk about tonight? And Sean's like, We In, We Out. So we posted this a little late. It was about 3:00. So we had 2 hours of people putting questions. And of course, Salty came to the rescue and he put a bunch in there. So we'll get to some of his as well. But our buddy Black Irish 864 has the first one. He says, We In, We Out. With 9 games remaining for the Lady Irish, they need to win 7 to get to 20 victories. 3 games are at home, 6 are away. The Lady Irish will not make it to the big dance. Their away record so far this season is 2-4. So you in or out on the Lady Irish making it to the tournament this year?
I am currently pulling up some of the standings here. I'm going to be out, but I also want to have some contextual facts here.
I like that. I think
that to back me up as well. I mean, let's be honest. These next couple of games are not going to be easy by any means. You have Cal, who is 12-9 overall, 3-5, kind of in the conference. They're going to be fighting for. They're essentially kind of have that bubble mentality as well right now. So that's not going to be an easy game. After that, you have Stanford, who is a bit higher in the rankings, 15-6 overall. Probably another team fighting to get to 20 wins. So back-to-back games on the road in California, not easy for the Lady Irish. And then after that, you have Virginia Tech and Virginia, 2 quality teams as well. The thing is Notre Dame has a lot of teams kind of in a similar situation as them on the remaining schedule, right? There's no real kind of like, oh yeah, that one should be, easy. And I think that's what makes it tough, especially for teams, fighting for that bubble case. I'm going to be in because I think Hannah Hidalgo is still one of the best players in the country, certainly one of the best players in the ACC. And this is going to come down to conference play towards the end of the year. They're going to have to win, a good amount of these games and also have a respectable showing in the ACC tournament. So when you have who I consider one of the best players in the conference and in the country, I think she has to really kind of shoulder the load and be that type of player. Like in basketball, you have those type of players who close games out for you, can put the game on their shoulder, double-digit points, 5, 6, 7, 8 assists. The steals really help her game as well. So they're going to have to lean on her, and I think they'll get it done because of her.
I mean, it's when you're like Brian talks about it all the time when we talk about, stars need to be stars, right? And that's no more important in basketball than it is any other sport, really, any other team sport, I should say. You're going to need your star to be a star, and Hannah Hidalgo is obviously the star of this Notre Dame team, and she's going to have to kind of put this team on her shoulders and kind of will them to some victories, I think. And I still think that Notre Dame's getting in. I still think that. I just don't see Notre Dame being on the outside looking in. But then again, I said that about the football team this year too. So, take that for what it's worth. And so I'm out right now on the Irish not making it to the big dance. These next few games are going to be crucial. They're going to be key, right? I mean, they've got to win more than they lose down the stretch, bottom line, right? And so, losing that one to Miami was tough. That's one that you kind of had to have, especially at home. And they do have a bunch of games on the road. So I'm nervous. I'm more nervous than I was like a week ago, but I still think it's within the realm of possibility. And I'm still moving my chips to the positive side of things in this regard. Now, talk to me again in another week. We'll see where we're at, because this thing's going to wrap up pretty quickly. And the other piece of this, Jess, that I think holds almost too much sway than it should, but you also have the ACC tournament. And if you can make a little bit of a run in the ACC tournament, that seems to be a lot of what the committee kind of watches too, is, how hot are you? What did you do in the tournament? Did you have an upset in the tournament? If you're a kind of a bubble team in that neighborhood, like regardless, Notre Dame is going to be a bubble team, right? Like whether they're on the positive or the negative side of the bubble, like they're going to be right around there. Depending on what they do in the ACC championship, I think will carry some weight with the committee moving forward. What do you think about the ACC tournament?
Yeah, I think the ACC tournament is really, it kind of helps separate, because a lot of teams you're gonna have your really top tier teams in the ACC this season. I don't think, unfortunately, Notre Dame is one of those teams, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with saying that. But you're gonna have that middle tier, and then you're gonna have the bottom tier. The bottom tier is like they don't really have a chance to go to the tournament regardless. Middle tier is going to be a lot of the same teams, kind of similar records, similar conference records, and essentially kind of all bubble teams. They're going to be jockeying for, some of those at-large bids into the tournament. And so that largely comes down to when you end a regular season with very similar win-loss records, very similar common opponents, that sort of stuff. I think the ACC tournament is huge because it helps separate that pack of middle teams, like who is actually the better team right now with so much of their resume looking alike. And so if you can, separate yourself from that group and then potentially knock off one of those top tier teams in the ACC tournament, I think that goes a really long way, because it shows you can do well in the first, second round, and then you have the potential, talking about the NCAA tournament, to knock someone out in the Sweet 16 and kind of make a run a little bit.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So, we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of basketball to be played, 9 regular season games, and then whatever they're able to do in the ACC tournament. And so, hopefully they can make a splash and make it happen. But I'm not off the bandwagon yet, Jesse. I'm not there. All right. As I mentioned, Salty Virginia Peanuts loaded us up with some questions because he knows that we needed him today, and he came through in the clutch, and I appreciate that. And so his first one says, it's good from an, quote, I want all the football I can watch perspective that the ACC is loading up on Friday night games and even some Thursday nights, but it's bad from the traditional Saturdays are for tailgates in college football perspective.
I'm going to be out on this. I think it's bad on both parts. I don't think that some of the Power 4 conferences should be moving to Friday and Thursday night. I think that's reserved for, MAC, Mountain West, because there's so many other games on Saturdays. Those days are reserved for those teams because it gives them the spotlight that they also deserve.
Sure.
You're not saturated with Power 4 games like that's loaded up on Saturday. So I don't see it as a means of like segregation or anything, but like I think that keeping those Power 4 games and especially ACC, Big Ten, SEC games on Saturday, I'm more so like that because I just know that Saturdays are, when the top tier games are going to be played.
This is where I'm at from Irish Chi-Town. He and I seem to agree on a lot of things. I'm out just because he says he's out because it's bad for high school football. I am very much a Fridays for high school football, Saturdays are for college football, Sundays are for NFL. Like that's where I'm at. And obviously I have some skin in the game when it comes to high school football. I played it, I coached it, I had a kid play it. Like Fridays are for high school football. It's what I've always thought. I don't live necessarily in a crazed like high school football area like some people do. Maybe down in like the Texases, Floridas, that kind of a deal, SEC country. But Friday nights are just still for high school football for me. And it's very difficult for me to get excited about college football on a Friday night. During the week, like, Maction and, that kind of stuff, like on a Wednesday or whatever, that's fine. I remember very distinctly being in college in the fall and we would be like, look, man, we do homework on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because every other night of the week we've got football to watch. Like that was always like our mantra, you know what I mean? And back then it wasn't even really on Thursdays, although there was a little bit. But it's like, you better get your stuff done on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because we're all football all the time, every other day of the week. And so, that's just how I grew up. That's where I'm at as an adult. I love high school football, even though I don't have a kid playing it anymore. I love going to high school football games, and I don't want to have to be worried about a college game while I'm out enjoying a high school football game. And look, not to go down the rabbit hole too much, but the high school, the way it's set up, high school sports, you need to go attend those games so that they can make some money, so that they can afford their athletics. You know what I mean? And watching it on TV or just seeing the score afterwards, it's not helping out your local high school. So that's my plug for high school athletics. But it'll always be high school football for me on Friday. So I'm out and I realize the ACC is trying to isolate themselves so that they can make more money. I get all of that.
But isn't that funny, Vince? Isn't that funny? Doesn't that kind of further the point that they're not moving any Notre Dame ACC game
right? Oh yeah,
Friday.
Exactly.
But when you need a little boost in the ratings, because again, your average ACC game isn't, pulling its weight naturally. So now we got to move it to other days to try to get more eyeballs on it, right? I just think that's kind of funny because, again, that you would never move a Notre Dame ACC game to Friday. And I'd bet my life on that.
I don't disagree. And Salty is correcting us. He said we're actually in because the question says that it's bad for the traditional Saturdays are for college football. So I agree with you. I'm in, Salty, that it's bad. And Tattoo says I'd feel differently about my coaching career if I had better linebackers. That's a straight shot at Jesse. I had great linebackers when Jesse was there, actually. I will say that.
It or not.
I mean, that was actually a strength of our defense when he was there. That I don't know what that necessarily says about the rest of the team, but that's where we're at. So I could always count on
quarterback, linebackers, running back.
Yeah. And our
wide receivers.
Our really good running back also played basically a hybrid linebacker safety position, and he was all over the field too.
That's just being an athlete.
That's just being an athlete. That's all he was. I mean, all he was. But like that, it's like, hey, just see ball, get ball, brother. Like go, Shaq, just go see ball, get ball, and good things happen.
Do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. I miss those days. I'm not gonna lie. So, all right.
Vince is going to go watch the highlight reel after this show.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this one. This one's directed right at you. We in, we out. After a few months back at work, Jesse's honeymoon seems like it was years ago to him.
This is actually true.
I
mean, anytime, I will say, like, coming back from vacation of anything, worst thing in the world. But, our wedding and honeymoon was just one of the best 2 weeks there was. So, coming back from that is just like time just forever. It feels like it was so long ago.
I know. That's how it always is with every vacation. There's so much like leading up to it, and then you go on it and it's great, and then you come back and it's like, where did it go? Like, what happened? It seems like it happens like that all the time. Okay. Let's see here. All right, we got time for a couple more before we go to break. All right, we in, we out. Dabo Swinney is absolutely right about the need to publicly call out tampering and to report offenders, even if nothing comes of it. But if a more junior head coach would be more worried about burning potential opportunities down the road if he does so. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
or shouldn't he do it? And then is he only doing it because he's got the clout to do it as opposed to like a more junior head coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, I think there needs to be some sort of, system where, like these coaches, like you should get kind of eventually fines. I think if you are notoriously, keep coming up with offense after offense after offense, because there are windows to do these things. And the fact that, you have you have coaches calling a player and saying, oh, I heard how much they're giving you. I can give you $1 million more, What say you? And it's like, well, what is a 19-year-old supposed to do? Where basically the football is the same, but you're getting $1 million extra dollars, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I'd take an extra $1 million.
And that's tough. That's tough. Yeah, I agree.
Especially when you've got a lot of family members who are probably like, hey, like, we could really use that, extra $1 million. And there's just a lot of outside influence for someone of that age to make that sort of decision. And so I do think it's wrong. And I do think that there needs, I mean, this is a whole kind of separate conversation. Like, this is a very loaded, heavy question. I think we all know that the transfer portal and NIL and all that stuff needs to be regulated more when the window should and shouldn't be. But part of that, I think, includes stuff like this, where there should be fines for coaches who are notoriously dinged for doing stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. It's tough for me because in the world of college football, let's take Dabo Swinney, specifically here. Obviously, he goes out of his way to call out this situation, right? And he goes down the timeline, because I'm sure everybody has heard his rant or his press conference or whatever you want to call it. Like, he goes down the timeline of events and how this all happened. Again, this is one side of the story, number one. And I'm not defending anybody. I'm just going by what I saw, right? So this is his version of events, the timeline that he gave. He decided to go public with it. I think in this day and age, you have to be careful to go out and be all high and mighty when I'm not 100% sure if there's any program in college football that can say they don't have any skeletons in the closet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
this is throwing stones in a glass house.
It's like, do we really want to start uncovering
like
all of this?
Like, the situation that he describes sounds super shady, right? The way it went down, it wasn't handled properly by really anybody. It sounds like involved. The agent, the kid, Ole Miss, it just didn't sound on board at all, right? Are we to assume that Clemson has never done anything that's a little, maybe shady? And again,
come on, it's Dabo. That's a good old boy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to call out Clemson or anything like that. I'm just saying you got to be careful when you put yourself out there as the good person in this scenario. You just got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. College football
is nobody's perfect, Tom.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Especially in high leverage college football.
Exactly correct. With NIL, the whole thing, like just the whole thing, right? The transfer portal is a disaster.
I'm sure he's had some sort of recruiting violation,
Oh,
bought a guy a steak dinner, was at a
this is what I'm saying.
At a recruit's house maybe a day after he shouldn't have been. Like this, there's just so many rules. You can't tell me that you're playing by all of them perfectly.
And that's the thing. Now, on the face of it, I like what Dabo did, calling him out. on the face of it, I like it. You know what I mean? Because I don't think there's enough people willing to pull the curtain back and shine some light on stuff that's going on. You know what I mean? But again, you got to be careful with what you're putting out there. So that's where I'm at. Like I think he's right to do it. Like I'm cool with him doing it. You just have to be careful what you're saying and how that doesn't come back to bite you. Like that's all. That's the only thing. That's the whole thing I was thinking about as I was listening to him go. I'm like, have you never like texted a recruit maybe outside of the time when you're supposed to do it? Like, are you 100% like innocent here? I don't know, but he called out some blatant, a blatant situation where things were going in the wrong direction, and to a degree, I feel bad for him because they lost a player that they got in the portal and, all of those kinds of things. But then how can you feel bad for, they're poaching from other team. It's like, I don't know. I feel like everybody's doing it. That, doesn't make it right, but I still feel like everybody's doing it. So anyway. All right. You know what? It's 5:31 here in the greater South Bend area. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue with our We In, We Out segment. Get your We In, We Out questions in the chat if you have any. And we will continue to check out the ones from our premium message board over on boards.irishbreakdown.com when we come back on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat along with irishbreakdown.com. Welcome back to Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat, along with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Vince D'Addario, along with Jesse Stiers. It is a we out day, and we are combing through a number of questions from our premium message board subscribers over on boards.irishbreakdown.com, as well as people in the chat. And we've got a couple in the chat lined up, Jesse. So what do you say we go to the chat here and pull out a couple? We got one from Anthony Solomon. He says, we in, we out. Notre Dame will have an undefeated regular season with most games over by the end of the third quarter.
I'm going to be out on this, Vince. I don't like these sort of predictions, and especially like especially the last part where it's like they're going to be winning so bad, blowing everyone out, that these games are going to be wrapped up by the third quarter. I think it's hard to go undefeated as is, and I think it's you're going to have some close games. Probably a game that shouldn't be, and I think there's going to probably be a team or two on that schedule next year that's a bit better than what people are, forecasting them to be. So I'm going to be out. I just don't like to be that overly confident. And again, it's hard to be undefeated in any sport.
It is super hard to be undefeated. And, if you take the schedule and you go game by game by game, right? And you're looking at
what should happen.
Yeah, look, you're going to pick Notre Dame to win all 12 games. Like, Notre Dame should be favored to win all 12 games. I mean, with the exception of maybe Miami, depending on who's doing what up to that point. Because I think that's like week 7-ish, something along those lines, or maybe a little bit later in the season. I don't remember off the top of my head. But there's going to be a lot of football played up to that point. And so we might have a better idea of what, who these teams are and things like that. But on the face of it, Notre Dame's going to be favored in every game except for maybe that one. And so you would be like, well, Notre Dame should probably go undefeated then, is what you would say. And you've got the Miami game at home. I think it's in November, the first weekend of November. So, I mean, that bodes well for Notre Dame as well. And so it's, you want to say, yeah, in totality, that equals an undefeated season. But that's also not reality. And reality says, okay, they're favored in every game, but it's also college football. They might drop one at some point. I couldn't tell you which one that's going to be, right? Like, could anybody have predicted, some of the early season losses that Marcus Freeman has had in his tenure? Nope. There's no way. And no one would have predicted the Northern Illinois loss in the same season that they go to the national championship game in 2024. Like, those things just don't mesh. They don't work in your brain. And so I'm not going to predict an undefeated regular season at the moment. I will say that he says with most games over by the end of the third quarter. I think that's possible. I mean, that's possible, but I'm not ready to predict that either. So I guess I'm out on this one, but that's a great question, Anthony, because it really makes us think.
Vince, I just looked at FanDuel. Notre Dame is the current betting favorite to win the national championship.
They are.
Plus 650.
Yep.
And that would, logically, let's think about this. Obviously, you can't lose in the playoffs to win a national championship, so you're undefeated there. And if I had to imagine, that might factor in maybe one loss. So what that's saying to me is Notre Dame to go undefeated for the season is probably only around like plus 250-ish, plus 300. And then, obviously double downing on that and winning the national championship is plus 650. So I guess maybe there is more to this question, like you said, they should win a lot of those games, but I just hate setting my expectation bar that high, because then anything less is right. It just leads to frustration. It's like, I just want to be appreciative of what they can do next season, because I feel like it's going to be a big season.
It's going to be a great season, because not only is Notre Dame favored by FanDuel to win the national championship right now, they also have the leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy in CJ Carr over on FanDuel as well. And so there's a lot of
it's teeing it up.
There's a lot of excitement for 26 surrounding this football team. And, I can understand people's excitement. I get it. I understand the revenge tour aspect and, all of those kinds of things. And, I want to temper the excitement, because I want to temper my own excitement, frankly, because I don't want to get overly overly excited. You know what I mean? So it's
One
just one of
game at
those
a
deals.
time.
That's exactly right. We in, we out from Strikers for Irish. It says, have all 4 seasons of weather or just hot all the time. What would you rather have?
I'm gonna be in on all 4 seasons of weather. I enjoy my summer, but I really enjoy my fall.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely enjoy the spring. I don't mind the winter for, given amount of time. This past week, I've been wanting to fight the winter. Me and the winter have not gotten along. It's cold. It's
That's
windy.
fair.
There's a foot of snow. It just makes everything harder. You don't want to get up in the morning. You can't go outside because it's freezing. The streets are a mess. Everything's a mess with all this snow. But I also am not a guy like I sweat in the summer, and I do a lot of stuff outdoors in the summer.
You are a
So
sweater.
I'm like, that doesn't bode well for me. So I couldn't do just hot all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm a 4-season guy. I mean, my wife and I have this conversation all the time about like moving someplace warm, that kind of a thing. And it's like, you would miss the seasons. And she looks outside right now and she's like, no, I wouldn't, and I like, okay, I get it. This is the worst of the worst when it comes to cold and nastiness and, all the things. But I am a fan of the changing seasons. I don't think I could just have just one season all the time. Like I don't know. That seems boring. It just seems boring to me as much as I.
But if you had to pick one season, what would it be? Mine easily fall.
Easily
fall.
Yeah, it's fall. From
Mild
a temperature standpoint, all of it. Yeah.
You can still get sunshine during the day and then kind of cool breezes, in the evening time.
Yeah, fall's the best. Fall's the best. I mean,
I feel like that's such a Midwest answer too.
It is. There's something to be said for like a beautiful spring day and like going out and catching a baseball game in the spring.
Yeah.
But the spring is just way too unpredictable when it comes to rain and
then it's a slippery slope into just straight heat.
Well, and it could be 30 degrees on one day in April, and then it can be 80 degrees like 2 days later. Like that's spring around here. You know what I mean? And you have to become like a professional meteorologist just to like operate in the springtime, So that's why spring kind of takes a back seat to fall for me. You get some similar temperatures, but the fall is way more predictable than the spring. We just spent a lot of time talking about weather, but that's okay. Here's a Notre Dame basketball question, and it's not about the Ben jerseys. Irish Chi-Town wants to know, we in, we out, Micah Shrewsbury completes his contract at Notre Dame.
I know you know that. When is it till?
I was going to look it up right now. I'm sure it was a 5-year contract. And oh gosh, he signed a 7-year contract in March of 2023.
So that would get him through the 2030 season? Or 2031.
Yeah. Well, so the first year would have been 24. So 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the 30-31 season would be the duration. Yeah.
I don't want to say this to be a hater, but if what is currently happening continues, I don't see a way. So I have to be out, but I'm optimistic that the trend that has been happening the first few seasons does not continue.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the best diplomatic way I can put it.
Like we don't call for people to be fired
but if the basketball they're playing this season continues, Vince,
right? That's
there's no way he makes it to 2031.
Yeah, and the thing for me is, look, like this year is tough because Marcus obviously got hurt, right? And that when your best player goes down, you're kind of piecing it together, right? And I understand that. I get that. He had a good recruiting class coming in this year, right? He's got a good recruiting class coming in next year. So he's building it from the bottom up. He's not really doing it through the transfer portal like some other teams are. So he's not getting these ready-made superstars in the portal. Like that's not who Notre Dame, I think, is going to be in basketball.
You think the university understands that?
Right. And so he's got to build it from the bottom up. So you're willing to give him some time. My only issue, because I've seen some of these young guys play well this year, in spurts and things like that. What worries me is, and you watched the double overtime game, okay? There were too many times, in my opinion, when it was like waning clock moments, important out of bounds plays, press break. Some of those things, they looked a little scattered to me. Like they didn't look
well polished,
like a well coached team, to be perfectly honest with you. They look like they were kind of running around with like chickens with their heads cut off at times. Like, is your only end of clock play get it to your son to shoot a three? Like, is that your only play that you've got? Like, that's what it feels like. So those are the things that worry me about the whole contract thing. I think he's doing a good job recruiting. I think he's bringing in good recruiting classes. It's just, are you going to be able to put it together with an on-court product? I think that is still a question mark for me.
Yeah, and it's how long is it going to take? Because
yeah,
you can go through a lot of, rebuild cycles, but if nothing's changing, nothing's changing. And I'm not trying to, really kind of beat down on the guy here, but basketball is one of those sports, especially true freshmen can come in and play and have an impact.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like, I feel like some of these other sports, mainly, I guess, football, you don't see as many true freshmen out there playing, keeping up, and having such a big impact. And I know, different roster sizes, more positions, not the same sport, but I think that's when the advantages of basketball. Like you have guys who could be one and done, just straight off to the NBA. And so I think that whole, like, yes, he's recruiting well, but he needs more out of that talent early on. Like we can't be dragging into year 2 and 3 and be like, oh man, we're still really waiting to see the best of, Marcus Burton, Serta, Harlison, those sort of guys. Like you need to see that impact early on if you are recruiting that well and these guys are as talented as they're being made out to be.
Yeah, I think there's talent there. I really do. They're being asked to play a prominent role, obviously, as freshmen and as young guys, and it's working sometimes and it's not working at other times. You know what I mean? And like that would have been a really good win to get for Notre Dame against Virginia, against a ranked opponent. Would have been the first one in Mike Shrewsbury's tenure at Notre Dame. They're 0-10, now 0-11 against ranked teams. Like that would have been a big win for this program and could have vaulted them into something, not necessarily special this year, but it could have gotten them some momentum, for the remainder of this year, and they weren't able to pull it out. And, and part of the problem was they just didn't have a bench. Virginia was like 10 deep in that game, and Notre Dame wasn't. And it showed.
You could tell.
It showed, yeah, 100%. So,
but, I think a lot of people, obviously they're going through some of these struggles. And I think when, you see stuff like him, melting down in the press conference or yelling at a referee and that sort of stuff, I think it's easy to be like, oh man, this guy's just, bad coach and they're not winning. I don't necessarily agree. I like that kind of level of passion. It shows me he cares. And I think that he would, do anything to win these games, and I think that's the tough, frustrating part for him. And this, like, no one likes to lose.
No.
And no one likes to lose at the high level, when you've kind of made it to the stage that you think you deserve to be at. So,
sure.
I don't mind, I guess you could say, the antics. There's a lot worse that goes on. Like you see that UConn coach, that man is a lunatic 24/7, but he's actually, he's won a national championship and stuff. So I guess there's more room for that, but I don't know. I don't mind that stuff. Just he's a coach. Those things happen, whatever.
I get it. I love a passionate coach. Don't get me wrong, but you also got to know your boundaries. You can't go running after officials, man. Like that. That was a little bit of a red flag. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, ooh, that's not a good look, brother. So we'll see what happens. But all right, we got one more from the chat that I want to get in before we go back to the Champions Lounge from Radar 32700. In or out, special team performance better in 26 than in 25.
I hope we're on the same page on this one. I think you'll have a more in-depth answer, but where I'm leaning towards is I think you can't be worse than last year. And so I have to be in on them being better because I don't see them getting worse at, the whole kind of punt block scheme. Like I think they're going to get some block punts and I think they're going to continue to run fake punts and that sort of stuff. I think the kickoff and the kick return team will be just fine. And on Tuesday, we talked about kind of how abysmal the field goal kicking, the extra point operation, that whole thing was. I think it's going to be better this year. And so therefore, just that group alone getting better, I think makes that group substantially better in 2026. So I'll be in on this.
Yeah, I'm in on it overall. I think, the punting was good last year, right? I think we can all agree on that. I think they've got good options at punter, going into 26. The field goal kicking was obviously abysmal. The fake game, I guess, is the best thing you can call it. The trick play game, out of the special teams was good. Was good to very good, right? And then the return game was really good. And so, they had 2 return touchdowns last year, which is really good. You still want to have that kind of a deal going, but there's no way the kicking game, the place kicking game can be worse. Like there's just no way. Like there's no way. And so just from that aspect, if everything else just stays the same, the kicking game, the place kicking game has to get better. It has to get better. They were awful. They were awful. And it was awful from an injury standpoint. It was awful from an execution standpoint. And it was awful from a coaching standpoint. It was
teaching standpoint. Yeah.
It's just awful all around, man. Like just terrible. So it's like, okay, guys, we got to regroup. We got to get this thing figured out. I think, my opinion, I think Spencer Porath is going to be your kicker. And if that's the case, you're going to be just fine. He's a good kicker. So,
and I think what I want to add to this as well, special teams is a lot of, Notre Dame does have a good amount of, not a good amount, but a decent amount of starters on their special teams. Their 2 deep gets in there, and obviously their 3 deep does. And with how well Notre Dame has been recruiting, those are kind of like special teams are made for guys kind of younger with a ton of talent, a ton of athleticism, speed, but aren't quite starters yet.
Right.
And obviously that's where Notre Dame has been really good in that area. And so that helps special teams because you're just reloading on those type of players who are really freaking good, but might not just be ready to be, a full-time starter yet.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if anybody's over on the Champions Lounge or anybody that is on Twitter or whatever, and you click on the 2 most recent stories where it has the projected depth chart for offense and defense, like the 2 deep, the 3 deep at Notre Dame right now is unparalleled. Like this is not, this roster is one of the top 3 rosters in all of college football, and not everybody can play at the same time. Right. And so those guys are going to spill over into special teams, which is going to make that unit that much better. You know what I mean? So the depth of talent on this roster is awesome, and it's only going to make special teams better. So that's obviously a good thing. Ken wants to know if Biaggi is staying. There's rumors of him being looked at by other programs. Look, nothing is set in stone. Obviously, I think most colleges are done looking, filling their rosters of coaches for the most part. He's replaceable. Every coach is replaceable. So, you'd have to ask him if he's gonna stay or not, I guess. But as of right now, that's what I know is that he's sticking around. So, do you have any thoughts about that?
I know that there's been rumors about it.
There's always going to be people looking to poach good coaches, though, right? And Notre Dame's got a good coaching staff.
Yeah, and just look at the special teams creativity that they've had, despite an abysmal kicking game place kicking game last season. So, even coming out of North Texas, he was highly regarded, which obviously why Notre Dame wasn't interested. And then you have success at Notre Dame, and like you said, there's going to be interest from even more suitors. So. I think that, and maybe this is the optimistic side of me, I think that window has maybe passed, or at least I'm hopeful that window is passed, because it feels like everyone on the Notre Dame side of things, like they're already locked in on this next season and this revenge tour. And I think, I don't think Marcus even gave anyone like ultimatums or anything, but I think it comes to a point where it's like we either as a coaching staff and a player personnel, we are all in, and these are the guys that is going to do this, or, if you're going to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Agreed. And again, there are programs calling up probably every single assistant coach at Notre Dame asking if they're interested in moving and things like that. And so I would have to think that most of the movement is over, but watch tomorrow, he'll end up someplace else. I don't know.
I hope you get clipped for that.
That's messed up, man. All right, let's head back over. We got a couple of minutes here. We'll head back over to the Champions Lounge and see what there is to see from some we in, we out questions. How about this one? Speaking of new coaches, this one is from Joe Allen, 72. The new safeties and or corners coach will be announced by February 3rd. We in, we out. I believe that's Tuesday.
I think that is Tuesday as well. If my math serves, today's the 29th, Friday's the 30th, Saturday's the 31st. That makes Sunday the 1st, Monday the 2nd, Tuesday. You know what? I'll be out. I think it's end of next week or maybe sometime next week, but I think it's still a little bit too soon.
So there's no chance, zero chance that Notre Dame will actually announce the hiring of somebody.
It could be done on the back end.
Like that'll never happen by then. Could there be a leak as to who the coach is going to be? Like every time Notre Dame hires a coach, it's always everybody knows that they're coming and then Notre Dame announces it kind of a deal. So I will look at this as, will we all know who the coach is by February 3rd? I'm going to go with I'm out. I think that's still a little bit too soon.
Feels too soon.
It feels too soon. Now, I could very much see Notre Dame bringing in some people over the weekend. I could see that being the case. Maybe they'll narrow it down by Tuesday. I would love for that to be the case, but I'm going to just say I'm out. I don't want to get too excited about it, so I'm going to say I'm out. So, but there's zero chance that Notre Dame will announce it. That I'm saying that there's a chance that we'll all know by then. So, all right, let's see. There's a bunch of Dabo Sweeney kind of questions in here about some stuff. Let's see. I'm going to save that one for our rapid fire because we do have that one as a topic. How about this? Sweeney's absolutely right about the need to fix the college football calendar. The January portal forces schools to fire coaches mid-season to have new coaches in place for it. And the current week 1 is too late in the year if the college football playoffs are going to end before late January.
Yeah, I'm a big time in on this. I think we kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier. It's there is a problem with the college football calendar. But you know what? It's funny because all it's going to come down to is neither side is going to want to budge.
Yep.
Because you want to stretch this thing out because why events? That means more games, more TV revenue, more money, that sort of stuff. And so the more they can squeeze out of it, which means bigger calendar, the more that, they're just not going to budge on this thing. And so get rid of conference championships, move the schedule a week earlier. Don't give as many times or time off between playoff games. Like you don't need the 2-week break between the national championship. Instead of 2 weeks after the regular season, you get 1 week. Like there's things you can do, but they're just not going to do it because that means you're taking away money and revenue. And so I just don't know what solution is going to be proposed that gets both sides on board, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's obviously problems, but how are they going to come to an agreement to fix it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole portal thing is like, okay, I mean, it is still college. And having the portal in January when they have it is so kids can get into school and start going to school in the second semester of the year. Like that's why it's where it's at, in my opinion. And so I don't think you can really make it later, but I think you can adjust the calendar as to where things are getting done a lot earlier. Like you said, just squeeze it down a little bit, get rid of the conference championship games, maybe not have as much of a layoff before the start of the tournament, all of those kinds of things. Now, all of a sudden you're getting the championship game over with, and now you can focus on the portal like that. I would be okay with. I just don't think you can push the portal any later than it already is. You could go earlier, I suppose, but that's just going to cloud things even more and push the calendar of firing coaches and all of that. So I think you got to keep the portal where it is, but I think you can definitely shrink down the calendar when it comes to when the games are played and how long the season is. I think the season's too long as we sit here right now. And they're talking about obviously expanding the playoff as well. So they're going to have to do something to make this make more sense. All right, we have reached the top of the hour, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be back with a little bit of rapid fire. You are listening to Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat along with IrishBreakdown.com. Welcome back to Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat along with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Vince D'Addario. This guy over here behind the shroud is Jesse Stiers, and we are here to take you home all the way up to 7 o'clock to the next top of the hour at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. I don't know if our boy Ty is on the board, but it's going to be a late one because the Lady Irish are out in California at Cal, and they have a 10 o'clock tip, which is obviously 7 o'clock local time, but 10 o'clock tip tonight. And Notre Dame is in search of a big win here. They need a win tonight for sure. They got 9 games left and need to start bringing in some W's for sure. So make sure you tune in to WSBT. You can also find it on the Odyssey app. And I don't know if it's televised tonight or not. I'm sure that it is. But I'm sure you can find that as well. You just want to hit that mute button on the TV, sync it up with the app or sync it up with the radio, and you can listen to Sean Stiers call the women's basketball tip against Cal, 10 o'clock tonight, Jesse. So, are you ready for a little bit of rapid fire, sir?
I am ready for rapid fire. I had to triple check that I wasn't muted.
I didn't know if you had like sound effects, like if you were gonna like bring out like I didn't know what was going on. I was getting excited.
No, but I am ready for rapid fire. There's a wide variety of topics here. Hopefully, we got enough to get us through the show. But worst comes to worst, I'll just start throwing questions at you.
I mean, look, we're gonna have enough to get through the show. I'm not necessarily worried about that. I think we actually have a good amount of topics here that I would say we will span a wide range of topics. How about that? Because there's a bunch of stuff here. All right, let's kick it off with a little college football. Surprise, surprise. Darian Mensah. Right, this happened a couple of days ago, but him, his agents, and Duke have come to a settlement that essentially cuts ties with Duke and puts him on the free agent market, where after a quick visit, he already committed to Miami. So this whole thing says blank about where we are in college sports.
I think that we are at a transactional state when it comes to college sports. I don't think that applies to every program. And I would like to think that, optimistically that Notre Dame isn't on the, higher side of that transactional side of things. And I think that the programs that are consistently going to be doing well aren't going to be the ones that are going to be, heavy transactional when it comes to these things. And honestly, too, Vince, the thing that surprises me the most is we are so transactional about players, and I'm sorry, that just don't deserve to be transactional about. Like, Darian Mensah isn't that great of a quarterback.
He's a good player, but he's not a generational quarterback.
It's not. I don't think he's deserving of all this, that has gone on back and forth. And I think the Washington kid as well, they were trying to sue him. It's just, like, what are we doing? And so it's just very frustrating. And overall, it just feels, very transactional. But it's not like we aren't to blame. Like, we knew that these things would be coming with the NIL era, the portal era, and I think that's why there's even more frustrations of why this thing isn't regulated more than it is. Because when it's the wild, wild west, you're going to have stuff like this, and you're going to have programs' feelings get hurt. And now that, you got to get lawyers involved and they're suing this and you're trying to block where a kid can and can't go. It's too much for what should be college sports.
Yeah. I mean, this is the groundbreaking isn't the right word, but this is a situation where a lot of these things are all new and they're setting the precedent for what is to come.
Do you think it's monumental?
Yeah. I mean, Darian Mensah signed a 2-year contract with Duke. Like, you're under contract, you know what I mean? And there should be, and maybe there was, but maybe there should be some sort of penalty for breaking a contract, just like for coaches, there's a buyout, and all of those different things. And maybe maybe there was with the Duke thing, because they didn't go public with what their quote unquote settlement was. But man, the fact that they've got 2-year contracts and they've got all of these different things. I mean, the fact that you said it's transactional, I mean, you're not kidding. I mean, it's absolutely transactional right now. And you're going to see this year in, year out, and you're going to see teams like Miami who continue to reload in the portal, and IU and how they continue to reload in the portal, and, that kind of thing. And they're Ole Miss, for example. I mean, we talked about the Dabo Sweeney and the tampering and all, that whole thing. And, you're going to see more and more of this is what's going to happen. You're going to see more and more of it. And they're setting the precedent that, okay, go ahead, I'll sign a 2-year contract. You know what that means to me? Nothing. I can still go out and I can still go to another team. And Miami clearly was tampering, maybe not by the letter of the law, but they clearly, Darian Mensah knew what he was getting out of his Duke contract for. And as well as everybody else in the country knew why he was getting out of his Duke contract was to go to Miami for more money. Everybody knew it. So, how does that happen when you're under contract with another team? You know what I mean? So, like, it just highlights the fact that apparently tampering doesn't matter anymore unless you're Dabo Sweeney. So, I don't know. It's just, I hate the fact that this is what college athletics is turning into, or at least big-time college athletics is turning into. But I'm going to have to get over it, I think, because we're going down this path and we're not
hitting the U-turn.
Right. You can't climb back up this water slide. Yeah, you can't climb back up this water slide. Like we're going down and that's it. It is what it is. It's just disappointing, I guess is the best way to put it. Okay. So I'm going to jump down here just a little bit. Rivals came out with their final.
You might be able to put this on the screen, by the way.
You want me to put this on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that might be complicated. All right.
No, you can do this.
Here. All right. How about I go like this?
We need a visual.
Okay. And then go like this. And you can kind of see it there. It's hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it all on one screen.
The one above it, right? The way too early All-American team.
This one right here. We'll come back to that one. I'm going to do this one first. So Rivals came out with their final 2026 5 stars, they're 5 stars, right? And they ended up with 32 5-star athletes, okay? And Notre Dame, oh, look at you. I see what you're doing there. I dig it. No, you go ahead. Notre Dame has 5. Notre Dame has 5 5-stars, right? And so Notre Dame has signed more 26 Rivals 5-stars than the Big 12 and the ACC combined. The SEC only has 11 across the entire conference. Notre Dame has 5. That is blank.
I feel like I always come back to this, but he's going to be the greatest coach of our generation, my generation. It's the Marcus Freeman effect. We have not seen this level of recruiting other than when Marcus Freeman has been here. Marcus Freeman has turned Notre Dame into a top desired college football destination. And when you combine Notre Dame's excellence on the field, their history, you combine the level of education, you combine, the guys who go on to the NFL, and not only go on to the NFL, but become all-pro, Hall of Famers. And then you just combine like Marcus Freeman as a coach and, his relationships with players, his ability to get the best out of his players. I think that's why we're seeing, a level of talent on the field, not only at the 1s, but the 2s and the 3s. Like they're 3 deep. Like you were saying, they're going to post those rosters. Right. You're going to be like, wow, there's a lot but that's the Marcus Freeman effect. And that is what is so cool about this list, is it just highlights it. And it's only been every year, it's just been building and building and building. And I think if you ask a lot of people, that's why there's so much excitement about 2026, because this is the full swing of the Marcus Freeman era and effect. Like we are now fully in it and getting all of the positives that are coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is big time for Notre Dame. Obviously, there are 2 teams on this list with 5 stars. It's our boy Archer's Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Like that's it. That's the list out of the 32. So between those 2 schools, they have 10 out of the 32. And I mean, it's big time for Notre Dame. When you look at where the 5 stars are going, it tells you a lot, in my opinion. And they've good players, and there was a time where Notre Dame fans were just resigned to the fact that just wasn't going to be the case, and Notre Dame was going to have to, coach their kids up, and that kind of a thing, and that ship has sailed with Marcus Freeman in charge of the recruiting world, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. And I said that I was going to bring up Salty's question because it has to do with this question. He said, "We in, we out. Although some are too quick to equate a high school recruit's 5-star rating with elite success in college athletics, the fact that in this football recruiting class, Notre Dame has 5 of rivals' 32 5-star recruits is a powerful statement in that direction. Notre Dame has more 5-star recruits than the ACC and the Big 12 combined, as I mentioned, and nearly half the total of the entire SEC. Mr. Freeman certainly has found his shopping aisle." You can't really refute that. You got to be in on that, right? I mean,
yeah, I felt like that was more of like a statement rather than like is this a we in, we out like question? Like there's no doubt that Marcus Freeman has certainly found his shopping aisle, and he has found the level of player. And I think more so than like the talent, I think that there's a certain level of like maturity that he looks for too. Like guys who can handle, everything that comes along with being a top tier athlete, not only at the college level, but at Notre Dame. And so that's the even more impressive part is I think, and I hate to say this, but some 5-star guys are just straight up 5-star guys because they're the most athletic guy in the field.
Yeah,
but
100%.
What kind of head do they have on their shoulders? How are they processing and developing the game? And are they someone who wants to study the game, or they just want to, go out and have a good time and basically be like a Johnny Manziel all of college football? So, I think that's the even more impressive part is the character of these players that Marcus Freeman also is bringing in that matches the level of talent as well.
And look, there's no guarantee that 5 stars are going to pan out and be successful in college. I mean, there's, just as an example, at Notre Dame, Cam Williams is a 5-star. Now, I'm not writing off his career at Notre Dame, but he's gone through 2 seasons, and everybody wonders if he's still in the witness protection program. You know what I mean? And so being a 5-star doesn't guarantee you anything, right? Jalen Sneed is a 5-star. There's plenty of people out there that would say that he hasn't lived up to being a 5-star, right? He's found his niche at Notre Dame and what he's good at, and I think the coaches have figured out what he's really good at and can use him to the best advantage that is the Notre Dame's defense, right? But I did see a stat that 65% of 5-star kids coming out of high school end up getting drafted into the NFL. I'll take that stat. Like, I'll take all the 5 stars I can get with the thought that 65% of them are going to be good enough to get drafted into the NFL. Like you're batting a pretty high percentage at that point. That's a 650 batting average. That's double what it takes to get you into the Hall of Fame. So I'll take those odds any day of the week, Jess.
Yeah, I mean, as a betting person, like I would 100% like that's over the 50-50 mark. And if you're going to give me those odds, I'll take those every time.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, it's exciting. I'm excited for Notre Dame. I'm excited what this 26 class is going to mean for Notre Dame. Is that going to pan out in the 26th season, or is it going to take a second? That all still remains to be seen. But there's going to be some guys competing for some spots on the 2 deep moving forward. There's no doubt about that. And I'm excited to watch it all happen. All right, Jess, how about this one? Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports has a report that the NCAA will take a look at the targeting penalty this offseason. What's the biggest issue you have with the current targeting penalty in college football?
My biggest issue with the targeting penalty is there is no consistency in the severity, and that leads to what I would say is unjustified ejections from the game, and I think that those can be very impactful. And I think that for a penalty that carries so much weight and is so subjective, and there's sometimes where it's like a dude gets his head taken off, and they're like, "Oh, no targeting." And other times a guy gets like a glancing blow, and they're like, "Oh, targeting, you're out of here."
Right.
In a crucial spot in a crucial game, that's where I draw the line. And so, I think that there needs to be some sort of warning, like 2 strikes and you're out, especially when you're talking about kicking someone out of the game.
Yeah.
I think an auto ejection is a little bit too much when there's not enough consistency in the rule. And so I would like to see a warning, like one time, and it's like, okay, 15-yard penalty, don't do it again. But again, like there's just too much. There's not enough clarity between the calls to be just auto ejecting people.
Yeah, I think consistency is going to be the biggest one for me. And I realize there's a lot more college football games going on, across the board than NFL games, right? So you can't necessarily have like a quote unquote a New York City that's got their eyes on every game and trying to be like that consistent body, that decides whether it's targeting or not. I do think that having a a warning system in place is important because and Justin ND Sniper says it's hard to assign intent to a targeting
100%
penalty.
agree.
Absolutely. But
the only person that knows the intent is the person
who does it. Yeah, exactly. It's like when your wife tells you what you're thinking. You know what I mean? Like, don't tell me what I'm thinking. I know what I'm thinking. Like, don't tell me how to feel.
Don't say that one too loud.
I know, right? Well, I'm alone, thank goodness. But I will say this. I think that there is also some discretion that needs to take place. Like for example, if there's a sliding quarterback and it's very obvious that he gave himself up and all of a sudden a defender comes in and then just like spears him in the head, right? Like you can go. Like you can be ejected because like that's not okay. When you've got a quote unquote defenseless wide receiver and they just happen to glance like helmet to helmet, going for the football, that should not be an automatic ejection. That's
also
where the warning should come in.
To add to that, Vince, is like it is bad in the NFL even, but even in college football, you just have amateur guys throwing the ball across the middle of the field.
Seriously. Asking
for their players to be decapitated, So it's like, I mean, what's a safety supposed to do when you're taught your whole life you blow up those plays over the middle of the field?
Right.
And a quarterback puts the ball in the bad spot. It's like, I get it. Like, don't lead with the helmet, but when a guy gets blown up and it looks bad and a little bit of helmet's involved, it's like, oh, it's got to be targeting.
Right. Exactly. 100%. And look, I'll even give referees the benefit of the doubt to a degree. Like seeing it live is tough. And to call a targeting penalty live is tough. You almost need to go to replay. And so I almost want the officials to be like, okay, hey, we're going to stop this. We're going to take a look at it, see if it's targeting, that kind of a thing. And then I think there needs to be an option to go to a warning system. You know what I mean? That needs to be there.
I think this was brought up in the chat and maybe I've added to it a little bit. So Joe Allen brought up the point. What if you had like targeting was a 15-yard penalty, but then after the game, it goes to kind of like independent review where there's a group of people who are probably experts on that rule. They go through the training of what that should be. And then after the game, before the next game, it's determined whether or not you have that suspension, basically.
Whether you got to sit out a half or something along those lines.
So you could say in that game, it's an automatic 15-yard penalty, but instead of asking the refs to make that call, in game, high leverage, everything kind of on the line, it goes to review kind of after, and they're like, all right, you tried to kill that person. You got to sit out the first half of the next game.
I wouldn't be against that. I really wouldn't, because it would prevent getting guys tossed out for no reason. You know what I mean? And I don't like that. I don't
especially for the incidental ones. Now, if we got someone who's got 2-3 targeting penalties in the game, like, all right, just get out of here.
Right.
You're trying to hurt someone.
And again, To a degree, you can tell when somebody has intent. I'm not saying all the time, right? But like again, and Ken Pluta says too many quarterbacks slide too late and it's hard to avoid. But there's some defenders, the way that they're coming in, like whether they're sliding or not, if they weren't sliding, they would have taken out their knee with the crown of their helmet. You know what I mean? Like, so there is a way to prevent, some of the things that are happening. And so I just think that it can't be as punitive as it is right now. A 15-yard penalty, get to stay in the game. Like, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? Unless it's very, very obvious that there was intent, So, but again, they got to fix it because the college game, there's no consistency whatsoever when it comes to targeting, like zero consistency. And that's what makes it so hard to stomach because we see things across college football. Some things are getting called, some things aren't, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, and to a degree, I'm almost okay with fines, Jesse.
They're making money.
All these kids are making money, man. You want to hit it? You want to hit them where it hurts? Take it out of their pocket.
They'll fix how they tackle when you're taking 25,000 out of their pocket.
I'm just saying, like some of these kids. Now, the problem is obviously not everybody's making the same amount, and you get all of the. Maybe it's a walk-on that does this. Okay, but like, I don't know, man. If you got $1 million NIL deal, you got to take some of that coin back. But I don't know. There would have to be some rules instilled there as well. So
you digress.
John says we can't find college players. If I'm paying him $1 million, you're darn right I can find a college player. Sorry. I find my
Obviously,
own kids.
we're talking about amending rules that are in place.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got some more rapid fire to wrap this thing up, and we'll get us to the top of the hour. Somehow, some way, we'll get there. You're listening to Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat along with IrishBreakdown.com. Welcome back to Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat along with Jesse Stiers. I am Vince D'Addario. We are also along with IrishBreakdown.com. And we are in the midst of a rapid fire session. And we got about 20 minutes to go to wrap this thing up. It is now officially the home stretch. We've got a couple more questions that we're going to get to. If anybody has anything they want to add, they can go ahead and put that into the chat. We are more than happy to discuss what other people are discussing. We actually have, believe it or not, Jesse, we have a few officiating questions. So we talked about the targeting rule, and this has apparently been a bit of a topic of conversation amongst the national media. So Fox NFL rules analyst Mike Pereira says it's time to take a look at the idea of having full-time football officials. He says not every official needs to be full-time, but the crew chiefs should go to an officiating institute and break down games together so that messages are consistent. Do you buy or sell his idea?
So I definitely buy the idea of providing more consistent officiating across the NFL. Like, that is my biggest gripe with the NFL right now.
Sure.
It just doesn't seem like game to game we're getting the same clarity, the same definition, or the same interpretation on a lot of these, penalties. And I think it becomes even more highlighted or pronounced or dramatic in the playoff games because they're playoff games, right? And it feels like the NFL is already a league where there's not a lot of, like, I guess you would say disparity. Like, there's a lot of the games are close, and especially in the playoffs. And so, when you're giving teams extra possessions or taking possessions away, these things become even more exaggerated at the end of the day. And then it seems like after the game, everyone's got an opinion, and there's usually not a consensus. You're either one side or the other. And so, I do think that officials need to be full-time. They need to be paid. There needs to be, more year-round kind of training. And I think there needs to be more kind of group settings where they are all looking at the same thing and interpreting, the way that these penalties should be called the same way.
Let me ask you a question, Jesse. Do you know, that was a quick Google search, but I tend to trust this. Do you know how much the average NFL official makes? How much money?
I would say probably 90,000 a year.
$250,000.
Yeah, for $250,000, we should all be on the same page.
For a part-time job.
That'd be my full-time job.
Right. I'm gonna have to have a little chat with Brian Driscoll because I'm not making $250,000 for this part-time job. But I mean, look, and a lot of these guys are doctors and lawyers. Like, they're already like these high-end, and I'm not, look, hustle, get your hustle on. I have no problem with it. But these guys are already like high-end guys in their field of study, in their field of career, and they're also a highly paid NFL official. I think it's beyond time to make these guys full-time. Like, if you're going to tell me that being a full-time official, like a part-time official, you're making $250,000, you're going to tell me that a part-time official, or I mean, a full-time official is going to make like $500,000 or something like that. I think you can get some really good officials for $500,000 who are constantly watching film, who are
you should be studying during the week.
Yes, absolutely. I've no problem with that.
I show up on Sunday, I referee the game, and then I pack it back up, go home, and then come back next Sunday. No, like, this needs to be something that is, you need to be up to. I should, like, I hate to say this because this would suck, but like, there should be pop quizzes. Like, I should come up to you. You should know the rule book.
Yes.
You should know how some of these rules are developing or changing throughout the years. Watching film to see how other people are doing. And I think there should be a lot of peer reviews. Like, a lot of what I do in work, we send our work to other engineering firms and they do peer review. And it's like, yeah, we missed some stuff. Yeah, we should have been better in those areas. And I think that's where it could be, you could see a lot of improvement is getting everyone on the same page and doing a lot of internal peer reviews and constant like studying of the game. But to me, like, if you're a referee, you should want to do those things. Like, you should, like, I'm assuming you're a referee because you really like football. and you want to be really good at your craft. And what you
Sure.
do to be good at those things is you're just constantly studying ball.
I'm actually shocked that the NFL has gotten away with it this long, having part-time officials. Like I'm shocked that that's the case, if I'm being honest. They make billions with a B, billions of dollars, and you can't have full-time officials working in the NFL
to guarantee you a better result.
Right. Exactly
A
correct.
more honest and fair result.
100%. So that needed to happen like decades ago. It is beyond time to have full-time officials. I'm all on board with full-time officials, whatever that looks like from a week-to-week basis, whatever that looks like in the off season. It does not even matter. They need to be full-time by now. It needs to happen.
You got your AM cardio,
right.
go run, maybe do a little bit of strength training. And then you got your afternoon film study, rule study. And then the evening time, you got, rest and recovery.
Listen, to be honest with you, and then look, maybe I'm underselling what a referee does. Okay. I think you could have full-time officials that do big-time college football games and NFL, and that could be their full-time job. I realize that's a busy weekend. I get that. But you're telling me that you can't do a USC football game on Saturday and then an LA Rams game on Sunday? Like, that's not in your wheelhouse of things that you could possibly do. You know what I mean? And then you'd have full-time officials working those types of games. Like, I feel like that's a possibility, and that could be done. And then the NFL's paying them, college is paying them, and they're making good money, and they're full-time. Like, that's your job. I feel like there's
also, I feel like this helps with the product quality as well, because I think if you ask a lot of people, like, so much of these college games, NFL games, NBA, MLB, there's more stoppage in the game because we got to go look at stuff. And it's like, if you just knew it up front, we wouldn't have to go to so much replay,
Right.
So it's like, and I get it. Live time is hard, and there are things you're going to miss. And yeah, go into the kind of, instant command room or whatever, and they tell you they kind of ping down the call immediately. I think we need more of that. We need to keep the game going, and these referees need to be able to hit at a more accurate clip. Like, you need to be within.
Yeah.
Like, one of my favorite things about the MLB, well, not favorite, one of my favorite accounts that tracks MLB, there's an umpire auditor. It tells you every game how bad they did. I think you need that. And if you're within a certain threshold, it's like, all right, buddy, you got 2 weeks of training before you can come back,
Right. Maybe they get bumped down to some lower college level stuff for a couple of weeks.
You got to earn your way to be at the top.
I would be okay with that. And I don't
see
why.
There needs to be parameters. You need to hit certain right or wrong type, statistics, basically.
And there's, if we're talking obviously about the NFL, there's a bunch of guys on the sidelines that are in referee regalia, right? With coats on or whatever. They're either doing the chains or they're, the extra guy or whatever the case may be. Maybe you get bumped from the starting lineup. Now you're on the sideline, right? And if you're on the sideline, maybe you're not getting paid quite as much.
That would motivate me to get back.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of smart people in the NFL at the the administrative level. Put them in a room, get this figured out. Like, get this official thing figured out.
If you were would you be more mad if you're the NFL or the NFLPA? Like, I would be more mad as a player, because it's like, I'm putting myself, on the line. I know you're getting paid money, but the whole goal is to win. And I'm putting myself out there, and we can't even get the calls right. Like, I feel like this is something that needs to be really brought to the table by the PA, where it's like, listen, we're playing these games, high leverage. There's obviously a lot of sports betting going on. Everyone deserves the right calls, especially in the crucial moments.
I just don't see how anybody would be against full-time referees. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be more people for it than against it, And yeah, they might have to provide, insurance and, things like that. The NFL can afford it.
When Phillip Rivers shows up for a couple games and now his 20 children get medical coverage for the next 5 years, I think we can give some referees some medical coverage for the entire year.
Exactly. Could not agree more. All right, here's another officiating question floated by Pat McAfee. So he's got an idea that he laid out on his show a while back to address the shortage of quality football referees. He says an academy should be created with the goal of attracting former players to become officials. Are you in or are you out on that idea?
Yeah, we are heavy on the
I know.
the officiating, but hey,
We are.
duty calls.
It's a problem though. Like we can all admit that officiating from the very top levels of the NFL, MLB, whatever, all the way down to high school and travel leagues and all of that, officiating is a problem.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to be in and out on this question.
Okay.
Maybe that's typical for me.
That's
I don't
good.
know.
Let's hear it.
I'm in on the academy, but I'm out on the attraction of former players because I think when you have former players, there's just too much biasy, you know.
Okay.
And I think that there's obvious, like, you can't tell me a guy that spent 10 years with the Bengals and then 2 years with the Browns and then retired doesn't have a rooting interest for the Bengals, you know.
Sure.
And whether you want to admit that subconsciously, I just don't think that's fair because in the heat of the moment, sometimes your eyes are going to see what they want to see,
Sure.
you know, whether you have that as your intention or not. And so I think you have to remove that completely. But I think this does go back to what we were talking about, some sort of academy where you are just living, breathing, and crapping football and being a better referee year round. And so what that looks like and what said academy would be, sure. But I just think when you have former players, you're introducing too many subconscious biases that couldn't be overcome.
And I agree with the player thing. For sure. And look, could you find players, maybe guys that had a cup of coffee in the NFL,
Yeah,
or something like that? Absolutely. Like you could find those guys and maybe they were practice players or something along those lines. You could find those guys to be,
but like that would be the hardest part about being a referee. Like everyone grew up a fan of someone.
And that, look, I agree with that completely. And there are, even at the high school level, right? Because I've coached for multiple teams and your allegiances change because you're with one team and then you're with another team. And it's like, well, no, I have to hate this team. And now I have to love this team. And, it messes with your head. And I can only imagine.
We know that ego pride runs deep in you.
It does, man. You cut me. I bleed red. It's true. Those are facts.
Blue and red. Everyone bleeds red.
I know that was the joke. But it would be very difficult. Like I've actually had thoughts of becoming an official, whether it be baseball or softball or basketball or whatever, because when I go to these games and you see these guys officiating, it is literally a dying breed. You've got guys in their 60s and 70s running up and down the court for varsity basketball games, and you're like, it's only a matter of time.
Last year in the league I coached, and I get it, this is just like a little inner city, but we had a guy making calls from half court, back court because he's not in good enough shape to be running up and down the court.
They stand at half court and they just kind of look back and forth.
Yeah, it's like you're telling me you're giving me the best set of eyes on what's going on, 20, 25 feet down the court, and I'm not trying to make fun of the person, but
right.
Come on,
And John is correct in the chat. He says officials get yelled at.
Yeah, but if you give him $500,000 a year, I don't care if you yell at me.
Exactly. And I'll tell you right now, being a football official is a heck of a lot different than being a baseball umpire or being a basketball official, because the fans aren't right here. You know what I mean? They're not right in your face like they are at basketball and baseball. You couldn't pay me enough to be a baseball official at a travel league,
in today's
for travel. Are you kidding me? When the
you're
big
always
gaudy
making
ring,
a wrong call.
Oh my gosh, the big gaudy ring is on the line, or the WWE belt that they get, for winning their 7th World Series in a row. No, I would not do it. I would not do it. I would do high school games only, or higher, right? Because that stuff I don't mind. You can yell at me from the stands as a football, a football fan. You're not going to hear it. Yeah, I don't care. You yell all you want. You know what I mean? But there are definitely it is a problem with the way fans treat officials, and that's why a lot of guys aren't getting into it. So that's a major problem that probably needs to be fixed first. But I'm all about an academy. You pay these guys to learn. You pay these guys at the academy to learn, just like you would at like the fire academy or the police academy. Like you pay these guys to learn and get better, and then
You probably go to seminars, clinics throughout the year
all the time.
As someone in higher education, like ongoing licensure classes, learning, clinics, seminars. It is all a part of a lot of professions, every day or every year development. And so why can't referees do the same?
100%. Like, it's called being a lifelong learner. Like it's an actual term that people use. You know what I mean? Like I go to stuff all the time to keep myself fresh and knowing what's out there, the trends and all of those different things. It's important. I think it's really, really important.
All those hydration clinics you go to for Gatorade.
It's important. You gotta know. You gotta know where those electrolytes are coming from, buddy. All right.
Hey, I gave plenty of speeches in my day.
You're darn right you have. You're darn right. You're a team leader from way back. All right. Let's talk about this way too early All-American team from On 3. There's a lot of different ways that we can go here. The bottom line is we are in the Notre Dame listening area, and
so I think the best way to go with this is what Notre Dame guys deserve to be on this list.
Well, let's first of all talk about what Notre Dame guy was on the list. There was
you should bring up the list again.
Oh, see, you're all. You know what? All right, let's see if I can do this. All right, we'll go share screen. We'll go to the tab. That tab right there, we'll share it, and then we got to put it up. Boom, just like that. It's my Word document, but that's okay, or my Google Doc. But here it is. You've got both sides of the football. You got offense and you got defense. There's one Notre Dame player on this list, and obviously he deserves to be on this list because he's the best corner in the game, and it's Leonard Moore. So Leonard Moore was the only Notre Dame player to make the list. Okay. So Jesse, number one, did they get it right with Leonard Moore? Number two,
1,000%.
Okay. I think we can all agree on that.
I mean,
number
he's one of the best coverage corners in all of football.
Number two, who was legitimately left off of this list, in your opinion?
Where do you want to start? Offense or defense?
Let's go offense. If any.
So there's two guys that come to mind.
Okay.
I think the clear and obvious one that a lot of people would bring up. I mean, he's also the betting favorite to win the Heisman right now.
Yeah.
I think CJ Carr, he might not end up being, the best. And Trinidad Chambliss isn't going to be back next season. So I don't even know why they wasted their time putting his name on that list.
Is that official that he's not going to come back, or that?
No, but it's highly unlikely.
Okay, all right, so it's still up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it would take a lot. I think CJ Carr deserves to be on this list. I thought he obviously had a great, breakout first season. I think the offense is going to be loaded up at the wide receiver position. They're not going to rely on the run game as much, and that's going to mean more CJ Carr showcasing his arm talent. Notre Dame is going to be an undefeated team, maybe one lost team, and make a deep run in the college football playoff and hopefully win the whole thing. And so when you're talking about putting all those things together, CJ Carr deserves to be on this list.
Mm-hmm. I'm okay with CJ Carr not being on the list. I don't know that I'm okay with Trinidad Chambliss being on the list. You know what I mean? Like, if you're giving me the option between the two, I think CJ Carr is the better quarterback. Like, if I was, for example, if I was starting my own college team, or if I was a GM of an NFL team and you gave me the option to have Trinidad Chambliss or CJ Carr as my quarterback, I'm going with CJ Carr. Like that's where I'm at. Now, for whatever reason, like obviously FanDuel is on board. They've got him as the Heisman Trophy favorite going into the season. There's still a lot of non-believers in who CJ Carr is. That's okay. I think by the end of the year, this is going to be a no-brainer. I really do feel that way. I think it's going to be a no-brainer. Let's flip it over to defense. Who do you think should be on this list, or who's missing from defense for Notre Dame?
This is a tough question.
And we got about a minute and a half for you to get your answer in. Just FYI.
I think two names that come to mind. I don't think they're quite there yet. I think this list is pretty good. Like, I'm not mad about anyone else not being on this list for Notre Dame. But I guess what I would say is two guys that could maybe end up on this list by the time it's all said and done next year. Drake Bowen, I think, is someone who deserves a lot of potential for this. And I think Don Schuler is another guy who I would highly consider, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up on this list at the end of the regular season.
Those are my two as well. Those are the two that immediately jumped out at me. Nobody's talking about Drake Bowen. That's a major mistake. And I think Notre Dame has the best safety combo in the country. Yes. I think more people are going to be talking about Tay Johnson and Adon Schuler here real fast. So, all right, we got to get out of here, Jesse. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. You are listening to Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat along with IrishBreakdown.com. We will see you on Monday.